In this video, I'm going to demonstrate one way to get a vintage film photography effect in Photoshop. This is an example taken from an instructional kit I put together a while back called Digital Backgrounds and Compositing Techniques. And for that, I designed a set of tutorials that introduce my students to various Photoshop tools and techniques while working on simple projects like the one I'm demonstrating here. Now I'm going to include links for the project files for this tutorial in the video description below, so go ahead and look for those. All right, for this project, I'm going to show you how to construct a reusable set of layers that will make producing an image like this as simple as dropping any image into the layer stack below. All right, here's what we're going to learn in this project. You're going to learn how to create smart object layers, add a vignette for a subtle effect, change blending modes, adjust opacity settings, add textures as smart objects, use a blur filter as a smart filter, create and use two kinds of adjustment layers, create a film grain effect, import and use two border graphics, and you're going to learn how to reuse this whole thing, this PSD, for effects on any image you choose. All right, let's start by opening up our image here in Photoshop. Now I'm going to use this photo from our included project files as our base image, which is automatically placed into the layer stack when I open it up like this. Now this one's been cropped to a square, all right, a 1:1 aspect ratio, which will work for the purposes of creating something reminiscent of a print made from medium format film. So in other words, like a 6x6 negative. You know, a lot of film cameras back in the day were, would give you square pictures. We're going to add a transparent vignette next. So from the menu, click File, Place Embedded, and I want you to select the vignette 1-1 ping file from the project files folder and click Place. The vignette file will appear on the canvas now, and we're going to use the transformation handles here to make it fit over the image the way that we want to. All right, then we're going to press Enter on the keyboard or click the check mark here in the Options toolbar, and this is going to commit the transformation. All right, the vignette appears as a smart object in the Layers panel, you can see here. There are other ways to place the file as a smart object, so if you want to know about those, just check the Adobe Photoshop Online User Guide for the different ways that you can do that. All right, here we're going to leave the vignette's blending mode on its default normal state. All right, and we're going to adjust the opacity to 45%. All right, next let's drop in a texture. We're going to use BG1-1 JPEG from the project files folder. I'm going to resize the texture to fit into the square format and adjust the opacity to 50%. Next, we're going to go over here to the main menu and select Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. I'm going to blur the texture layer using a radius of 18 pixels. Since this is a smart object layer and we've got it's a smart object, smart filter combination. The blur amount, is something that we're going to be able to adjust again later at any time. So it's very handy. Finally, with the texture layer selected, let's create a layer mask, which we can do by simply clicking the Add Layer Mask button here at the bottom of the Layers panel. Now we're going to paint a partially opaque layer mask. I'm going to select a standard brush from the Tools panel. We're going to choose black for the color, and we're going to adjust the brush's opacity to 50%. This reduces the effect of the blurred texture on our model's face. Now there's something about the look of this that I'm not sure I'm going to want to keep in the final edit, but let's leave it in for now, and I'll use it as an example of how we can make different choices on the back end. Again, with the texture layer selected, click the New Adjustment Layer button at the bottom of the Layers panel and select Gradient Map. In the Properties panel box for the Gradient Map, we're going to click the Color Ramp to bring up the Gradient Editor dialog box. And let's create a color ramp that goes from black to something like this color right here. With the gradient map adjustment layer selected, let's click the new adjustment layer button at the bottom of the layers panel again. Select levels to add a levels adjustment layer and adjust the levels in the property box so that we can change the contrast a bit and maybe get some darker shadows. Now with the levels adjustment layer selected, let's add a new layer and fill it with 50% gray. We're going to go to Edit, Fill, 50% gray. We'll add some grain texture by going to Filter, Noise, and Add Noise. I'm using a noise amount of about 24%. I'm going to select Gaussian distribution, monochromatic tones, and over here for our blending mode, let's choose Overlay. And we're going to give the layer an opacity of 20%. All right, now for a finishing touch, I'm going to stack two borders on top of this. Now you can find these files in the project files folder as border 1-1 PNG and border 2-1 PNG. And I'm going to give border 1-1 an opacity of 27% and border 2-1 will leave at 100% opacity. Our blending mode remains set to normal here. Okay, so there you go. I mean, this is the effect that we were going for. And I wanted to show you just how easy it is to use this stack of layers on another image. So I'll just drop this one in here at the bottom of the layer stack. And of course, I can tweak the settings to my liking to get just the effect that I want, depending on the picture that I drop in here. Okay, remember how I said there was something about this that I wasn't quite sure I was going to be happy with? Well, this is what I'm talking about. See the splotchy area right here? Sometimes it happens that you change your mind about some editing choices, and this is a good example of that. I don't like how it looks, but because we're doing this kind of non-destructive image manipulation, we're not burning our changes permanently at this point, we can very easily go back and fix something in our layer stack at any time as long as you save this original Photoshop file. So I'll make an adjustment to fix these splotches and I'll save my work in this file. And finally, I'll export these layers into a finished JPEG. Okay, that's how easy it is to do this type of effect. Now, this isn't the only way to accomplish a look like this. You can do similar looks using different techniques here in Photoshop or even in Lightroom. But I wanted to introduce you to some of the more important concepts of working with layers and blending and things like that for some upcoming videos about background effects and other types of compositing that I'm going to be presenting to you. So, practice using these and you'll be ready for those other videos and some more in-depth tutorials where we can do some pretty cool things. All right, so make sure that you check those out when they come in. In the meantime, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel so you can be notified when these new videos come out. Feel free to leave a comment, and I'll see you next time.